Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the CDL podcast channel. In this episode today, we are going to be talking about the whole Dashy and Rambo drama for pretty much all the news segment. A couple other random things with Illy maybe having some visa troubles and the surge in OpTic deal news that we didn't really get a chance to talk about because we got more details. Then we're going to be going over some of the matches for the past weekend, talking briefly about our thoughts on some of the bigger ones, and then our thoughts on the teams overall following the first week of matches of Major 2, and then we're going to get into our predictions for the second week of matches, and then we will wrap it up and watch some COD this weekend. So if you guys enjoy, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. If you're on the audio platforms, drop a follow, drop a 5-star review on there. On YouTube, at the time we're recording, we're at like 898 subs. We're just a couple subs away from our next goal, which is 900. So if you guys are listening and are not subscribed and you're enjoying, if you're on YouTube, please be sure to drop a sub. That would help us out greatly. Excited to get into this one. Excited to talk matches. The whole Dashy versus Rambo war on Twitter and on streams and stuff went down, and we haven't had a chance to talk about that on the podcast at all. So excited to give our thoughts on that as well. But before we get into any of that, Brock, how you doing today?
Oh, we're doing pretty good on this fine Monday night, evening, whatever you call it. Work today like usual. Pretty boring, but watch listen to the flick at work. Catch up on some stuff. And let's get into the news.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about in terms of news compared to, we're a little bit before like normal roster mania season, so there's not as much news. Where like post Major 2 will probably have a lot of news surrounding like roster rumors and stuff and changes that might be made. And obviously in the offseason, basically all we have to talk about is news because we don't have matches to talk. So we kind of sit here and we're looking for things to talk about. And this week, OpTic certainly gave us some stuff. The Dashy versus Rambo war, basically on the timeline, on multiple streams, on the flank, everything. It kind of started, obviously, the roster was made. Not a whole lot is talked about. We kind of figured it probably was something with, the chemistry of the team, because obviously it'd be pretty odd for Dashy to be dropped for performance or talent-based things, because we know he has an abundance of that. And then OpTic on the podcast with Shotzi and Rambo and Scump and Hecz, they were talking and basically said it was like an unfixable internal issue that they had. And like, apparently they claimed Dashy was giving off really bad vibes. He showed up late. He wasn't trying. And then that's kind of like, I don't know, you can give your thoughts on this too, but I feel like that's kind of like all what we figured it was. Probably something with effort with Dashy, not giving the best effort and all that. And we kind of figured like, yeah, that's not that shocking. That's kind of how it's going to be. And then, that was that. And then all of a sudden, Dashy started to fight back. Is that kind of what you thought, though, initially, before we dive into the Dashy part of it? Like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, that's what we hear about Dashy all the time is effort issues and stuff like that.
Yeah, it definitely does. Like in past, he'd show up late to practice and all that, like before, and they'd fine him for that. But I thought recently he's doing a lot better than they said that he's done. But yeah, effort, trying every day, I guess.
Yeah, so like that news comes out. I don't think anybody's really shocked by it because that's like what we've always heard. Now, granted, who knows? That could be a narrative that's pushed and that's false because we're not in the camp. So technically, could be a bunch of people lying about it. We don't know, but that's what we figured. That's what we thought. They confirm it's like, okay, whatever. But then Dashy all of a sudden like tweets something and like he's ready to talk to somebody. Then all of a sudden he goes live on stream and just starts fighting back on his side. And he claims he was the only one who was trying at all and like offering tons of input. And then everybody else would just be radio silent when he was trying to offer input on how he thinks they could improve as a team. And he made some pretty decent points. And now I kind of already mentioned how like we don't necessarily want to like dive into I'm on Dashy's side, I'm on Rambo's side, because like there's so much at play in the inner workings here that Brock, me, basically nobody listening to this knows because we weren't at the practices. Like
we don't know.
But from speculation, like if the things that Dashy is saying are true, it is very interesting because like I can see a world where anybody can see a world if you played a team sport, if you played a team esport, if you played really anything on a team, you can kind of know like if you're fed up with somebody, like even apply this to your sport. Like, let's say it's a basketball team, it's 5-on-5, and there's some guy on your team that you're just fed up with. You hate playing with him now. You're not excited to play with him, and like he offers you input. How much like Brock, you've played a lot of sports like growing up and stuff too. Like, how much are you really gonna like listen to that guy versus a teammate that you really like and respect and know you want to keep playing with? If that guy's giving you advice, or the guy that you're just fed up with, annoyed with, don't want to play with him at all, you're like done with him. He gives you advice, you're just gonna brush it off and probably not actually give him any effort back and like be constructive with it.
Definitely. Kind of happened with our coach in soccer. Not gonna lie, like high
Yeah.
school, we kind of just he wasn't the best coach. We needed him gone, and he was giving a lot of input. He was showing up late to our practice as well, and we just like brush him off. We wouldn't even listen to him half the time, and it was getting real bad. So he had to go.
Yeah,
so
and like that affects your performance because like
mhm.
even if it's like subconsciously, like you're not going to give that guy your full effort because you just stop believing in him. And
Yeah, we
like
just
maybe in
not.
their mind they were done with him, just like you guys are done with that guy. It's like you're just not going to give him your full effort or attention because you don't care as much anymore.
He just like brush him off. Don't care. Don't not really like listen to him a lot, but like maybe some things he says listen, but for the
So like
betterment of the team, they
yeah,
can listen to him.
yeah, and like to me that's where I see like maybe that's the vibe that Dashy was getting. Like kind of putting on the hat of defending Dashy for a moment. That's kind of like I don't know if this is what happened. This is me speculating, but I think that that could be something that could have happened. Like the team just was like, after maybe he showed up late that one practice that he admitted to, they were just like, he's back to his old ways. And they just got this idea in their mind that, it happened again. We're done with him. Like he's been bad vibes because him and Rambo are arguing. Like we're just done with him. Maybe got that idea in his head. They stopped trying as much in scrims.
Yeah,
Um,
like pushing the narrative
yeah.
almost.
But then from their point of view, Dashy's getting frustrated because they don't want to play with him. And they're like, this guy showed up late once. He's arguing with our coach all the time. Like, he's like just bringing really negative vibes in their point of view. They're like, this guy has just like been toxic, and that's like what they said. So it seems like just a complete misunderstanding of two parties, maybe a 3v1 against Dashy. And then the whole Rambo thing comes up, and he says apparently Rambo leaves for scrims early on like I don't know if it was just 1 day a week for bowling league, um, which I don't know. That's something interesting.
They're interesting.
He yes, like he apparently was even an issue last year. They were saying like he would just like say like, okay, Troy's got second set of scrims today, and Sender would be like in charge.
Hmm.
Um, then Rambo would watch the VOD back, and I can see Dashy's gripe with that because obviously like this dude's supposed to be your full time coach. Like, why is he leaving? This is his job. Why is he leaving early once a week? Like, if you had to make an exception every once in a while, just like any job, like every once in a while you got to make an exception. Okay, but like if it's weekly, it's kind of like, what are you doing? Like, got to be there
Like,
for your job. So I can definitely understand Dashy's frustration there.
yeah, definitely. He's probably called them out too on it. And probably didn't like that.
And I can also see Dashy's frustration with he was saying like he called him out and nobody else seemed to care and like nobody like thought it was a big deal. Like if I'm Dashy, I'm like this dude like this is supposed to be his job and he's just constantly like just
like,
brushing it off and like not showing up and not being there the full time. Like I can understand Dashy's frustration there 100%.
he's like, you see this guy leaving mid second scrim every
Yeah,
Tuesday? What's
yeah,
going on
like
here?
I can see the frustration there. And also like I can see his frustration. Like he said Rambo was apparently only recording the mini map for their scrims and for their
Hmm.
VOD session. Granted, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I know more about Call of Duty than Rambo. I don't. Rambo's a multi-time champion, been to multiple COD champs grand finals, been a coach or been around the game. Rambo knows more about COD than me. That's not the argument I'm trying to make here, but
Yep.
I know enough about COD and I know enough about the analysis of COD. I've worked with the CCL and worked with individual college teams and done analysis for them and done coaching and like I know enough about the coaching role in COD that minimap very important. It's very important to watch, learn spawns better. You can, just see the way that you were broken. You can understand a lot of it from a minimap. But also you need the players' POVs.
Definitely see what they're seeing on the map.
Yeah. Because like you can kind of tell like based on where the arrows are in the minimap, if a guy lost a gunfight here, and maybe they were able to flood through this angle and like break a hill that way, that's like true. And like maybe you need to adjust to that. But like it'd be helpful if like for you to be able to see the POV and maybe the angle that that player chowed from, or like the timing he took to chow it, or like did he dolphin dive that corner? Did he crouch? Did he snake that heady? Did he like just jump chow it? Did he like slow peek it? Like there's a
Yep.
lot that goes on to the POV, and you can like learn like oh. Seems like every time he chowed me where he like slow peeked it, he died. But every time he jump chowed me, he won it 3 out of 4 times. Like you can kind of like be like, oh, and then you can build off that. So like watching the player POVs is also very important. Maybe sometimes like one guy just got joked by an online killer, just got absolutely destroyed, and like 9 times out of 10, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, definitely. I just don't see why they couldn't have both.
100% because both are important. The minimap is also very important,
Yeah.
and like I I just don't understand the whole overcompensating thing too that he mentioned. Like once again, we don't know how true this is, but like I kind of resonated with Dashy a little bit because it feels like he's almost a little bit misunderstood in the situation, and like everybody just went with the narrative that was pushed right away of him being lazy, and like I don't want to just bury a player because like yeah, we've heard that narrative forever, but like this is the first time Dashy ever spoke out on it, and like a lot of the points he was making seemed pretty legit, and we haven't heard OpTic like rebuttal them besides like one Rambo tweet. So I wonder how legit they're realizing they might be. But like the point he made about, I don't know if you heard this part of it because I don't know how much you were able to listen to, but like Dashy did say, um, he did say like in one example, like in Hardpoint, somebody got a very lucky random spawn like behind them on a hill that was like 1 out of 100, and then three-pieced them, and it was apparently like their best hill. And
Yep.
Rambo like wanted to completely adjust and change everything just for that one random spawn. And Dashy's like, no, why would we change? This is our best hill. We're the best at it of any hill in the game. And somebody got one random lucky spawn, broke us, and we're gonna change completely to adjust and hope that random spawn happens again.
Yeah, I definitely I did hear that from Dashy. It's like you can't really account for that 1 out of 100 times.
And we know the nature of the games they're playing nowadays. Like,
Yeah, random spawns are always going to be there for now.
and like, I just, I don't know. I've always thought of COD in, I almost think of it like the slasher way. I've always thought of COD in a way, like a very analytical way. Like that's kind of like how I've always, why I've enjoyed Search so much. And I've like, Search has always been kind of my game mode that it's been my strength because I feel like I always understand very
Yep.
well, like in COD and specifically in Search, really in anything in COD and in most esports games, most FPS games, whether it's Val that we've been playing a little bit more lately, like you have to take high percentage fights. You have to make every fight high percentage, and that applies to like them holding that hill. Like if that spawn only happens 1 out of every 100 times, you shouldn't play for it. You should play for the high percentage play that's going to happen most times. If something's going to happen 95% of the time, you should play for that 95% of the time. And guess what? If that thing that happens 5% of the time, that random spawn happens, that's just unlucky. But you should be playing for the thing that's going to happen 95% of the time, not the thing that's going to
Yeah.
happen 5%. Like, just
Yeah.
like in a challenge search, like in a challenge search, you should be, it's always like you try to make it better than a 50-50. You try to take that power position. You try to like bait that guy into
Mhm.
channeling you and you getting the first bullet off. Like, always take the high percentage thing. That's why I get his
Yeah.
frustration there as well.
Yeah. Always take the high unless you want to eagle chow.
Yeah, like that's Call of Duty in a nutshell. Take high percentage every time you can get it.
Yep. I know. Yeah. It's like I don't really get that part from Rambo, but he's a coach.
But also like Rambo, obviously with OpTic and under contract, maybe he can't rebuttal as much. Maybe Rambo has a bunch of rebuttals that would make us completely believe what Dashy's saying is false, and like maybe Rambo has an explanation, but like we haven't been able to hear that, so a little
Yep.
unfair to Rambo, which is why we said we're not going to sit here and take sides, but we're going to try to see it from both points of
Mhm.
view. And like Rambo, very successful Call of Duty player and coach. So like we said, maybe he has his way that he believes works and it's worked for him. So he can't understand why Dashy doesn't think it works because like I can also see that being a point of view as well.
It definitely like can have his old ways and Dashy has his ways. They collide and don't mesh.
And like Krim was talking to Dashy and really roasted him. He said like Rambo had his like sheet he passed out to them, like Call of Duty rules 101. And it was like the most basic stuff. Like you have to rotate at 30 seconds. And like I'm a big proponent of the opposite of that. So if that is true, that maybe would make me lean one way or the other. But like I'm a big proponent of like it's not black and white. There are different situations. You don't want to rotate to every hill at 30 seconds. Some of them maybe you do, but like there are certain situations where you have to hit that scrap, and hitting that scrap will get you that extra 15 seconds that will make the difference.
Yeah.
And like, I know you're a big proponent for hitting scrap too.
Yeah. It's situational.
Yeah, it's just situational, and it's like it's not black and white. Like if you try to make the game black and white and like do the same thing every time, like you can have a rough system, but there has to be ways to bend that system to make plays. Because like eventually
Yeah.
you're gonna become a very beatable team if everybody knows exactly what you're doing every single time. This guy rotates out and he goes this way. Like you can have a system, but like
They're
got
gonna
to be a
catch
little
on
bit
to
of flex there.
it. Yeah. I like to go with the flow of the game. What they
Yeah,
give me.
yeah. All right. Probably spent enough time on that, but that's I got a couple questions on Twitter asking if we were going to talk about it today and stuff, and I was like, yeah, we got to talk about it because obviously it's the biggest news, pretty much of the year that's not match related. So I had to talk about that. Kind of relating to other news. It's basically all OpTic involved news because of they basically dominated the news cycle this week with the roster moves and stuff. But
Yep.
Dashy apparently certainly interested in playing with the Faze boys. Obviously, that would mean he would replace Slasher. Says multiple teams have hit him up, but he likely won't be able to move to a new team until probably after Major 2. The Faze thing's interesting. Obviously, like any main AR, I don't think that's really news, in my opinion, because any main AR is going to say they want to play with the Faze boys. Like, not even main AR, any player is going to say they want to play with the Faze boys, like the Cellium, Simp, Abezy trio. So that's really not news, in my opinion.
Yeah, everyone wants to play for that team, so it's not really too much news.
But apparently, he probably won't be able to move until after Major 2, which also isn't really news to me because I kind of figured that'd be the case. He won't move on until after that.
Yeah. I wonder if where he would go or if he stays.
Yeah, and speaking of that, though, Illy apparently having some visa troubles. We heard like Shots of Sand stream that they thought that it'd be fine, it'd be worked out before Major 2, and he'd be back in the US and able to attend Major 2. Would that mean Dashy would sub in then if Illy is unable to make it? That'd be awkward.
Yeah, that'd be a little awkward as hell.
Imagine Dashy just comes in, they win the event, and it's like, well, shoot, we kind of have to keep him in the lineup now.
Yeah, won't that be something?
I will say though, like, I'm a little bit worried. I really hope Illy gets it figured out because the dude's been through enough. I mean, last year, the thumb injury had to just absolutely be torturing his mental, and like he went through enough with that. The guy's got so much passion. He just wants to play COD, man.
That's all he always wants to do, just play some good old Call of Duty.
Got the thumb issue now. He has visa troubles, and like I've heard a million times in the past, like, oh yeah, it'll be sorted out before this date, and it almost never seems to be. So I really hope that's not the case here. Like in Scumps last year, we don't want to see OpTic have more roster issues than they've already had, and like last year with all of Illy's issues where he wasn't able to play with his thumb and stuff, like I really hope it gets sorted out and he's able to come in because I don't care if this was a guy on Florida or London or wherever. Like we want to see teams at full strength. Like we don't want to see random people having to sub in. Like,
yeah,
can we just have a year of everybody at full strength and then everybody gets to square up? Like that's all I want.
Definitely. We need Illy back ASAP.
Yeah. And we'll talk about when we get to the matches, but he fried this weekend from the Toronto facility. He played really well.
He did. Main AR Illy.
Yeah. Then our last piece of news, like I said, OpTic dominated the news cycle this week, but the Surge apparently did Hecz and OpTic kind of dirty with the Pred deal. Apparently, they basically came to him and they reached out for Pred, and they were basically like, here's our number. And OpTic's like, all right, we'll get there. They got to their number, and then Surge was like, actually, just kidding, here's our number. OpTic got there again, and Surge was like, okay, just kidding, here's our number for a third time. And OpTic met him again, and then they were like, yeah, just kidding, the deal's not going to happen. And according to Hecz, it kind of seemed like they didn't have any intention of doing the deal the whole time and kind of strung them along. And now, from like a neutral standpoint, I guess maybe I can see the Surge's point of view where they're like, we'll bait into OpTic, we'll make their roster even more in shambles because it'll be made public that they're going after Pred. We'll string them along, not let them practice, and then like they'll have to pick up a last minute pickup. And maybe in their eyes, they thought they were making OpTic worse. But in my opinion, I feel like that's kind of bad business, kind of unethical in a way. Like, if you don't want to get rid of a player, don't tell somebody you're interested in getting rid of them. Just if they approach you, are you interested in getting rid of Pred? Just say, no, we're not. Okay. And then the deal's done. You don't have anything because like, well, it may have helped you in the short term now. I feel like in business, in life, it's kind of a principle for me in life. Like, if you do somebody really dirty, it may not hurt you in the short term, but like eventually it's probably going to come back around and like bite you. Like when you really need a deal from OpTic later on, they're probably not going to be the nicest to you.
Definitely. Yeah, Sir just wanted to see how high they could go with it.
And they might have screwed themselves over for next year trying to re-sign Pred because then they realized how much OpTic's willing to pay and they're not going to be able to match it.
Yeah. They're like, holy crap! I have to keep up and like they want to pay it. They can't believe it.
And like we said, who knows? I'm inclined to believe Hecz because it seems like a pretty trustworthy person within the scene. But I just don't understand the point of doing like dirty business like that to me. Some people might call it strategy or whatever, but I don't know. I feel like at some point you might need a deal from OpTic, and if you were straight up with them right away and told them no, I'm not saying they had to give them Pred because they certainly did not have to give them Pred, but like when they came and approached, to say no, be like, no, we're not interested. We want to run this year with Pred and see what we can do. And then I'm sure Hecz and OpTic could be like, okay, thanks for talking, thanks for telling us right away, so we can move on to our next option. But like, I don't know. That's just not the way I would do business as an owner, as a GM. kind of string people along, because at some point it might come back to bite you when you really need OpTic to come through for a deal for you.
Yeah, definitely. They tested the waters.
Who knows? They might need OpTic to come through for a Dashy deal for them.
I don't know if it's gonna happen anymore.
Yeah, and if I'm Hecz, I'm absolutely saying, screw you. You strung us along like this. Dashy will not be on your roster.
Yeah. So karma. Kick him in the butt later down the line.
So. All right. Now, that was about 20 minutes of news. Obviously, we thought we might talk a little bit long because that Dashy news dominated the headlines. We're going to dive into talking about a little bit of the matches. Don't want to do anything like crazy in depth because, like I said, we did that stuff talking about the OpTic news for so long, and now we've got to do some reactions to the matches. Maybe going to talk like briefly individually about matches if they were really good ones, but more going to talk about like the outlook of teams, like we like to do, like where we feel about the team after seeing their matches this week. And then we're going to do our predictions. So try not to keep you guys for 2 hours. We'll maybe not go like super in depth into the matches this week. When we have maybe a little more time in a week where we don't have so much news, we'll do a little more deep dive. But the matches this week, we're going to go one by one, maybe mention our thoughts on some teams. Toronto versus London. First match. Not a super shocking result here. I think you would agree. Toronto 3-0.
Not shocked.
No, I mean, in terms of outlooks of these teams, might be time for another change for London. Maybe you give them a little more time. I have an opinion on like the whole giving people time that we'll get to, talking about the flank and talking about when we get to the rocker, but I'm not shocked. I think Toronto is, like, in my opinion, still a top 3 team for sure. I think they're right up there. They're one of the top teams in my opinion.
Yeah, there's more talent than London.
I mean, London probably bottom 3, Toronto probably top 3. Like, very big discrepancy in where these teams are at.
Yeah, definitely. But Asim went crazy. He tried his all.
Yeah. I mean, that's been the story of basically the year for London, though. He's been a top tier player.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just been let down overall by his teammates. But Scraps in his return series had a .92, not the absolute worst series. Certainly not a great series, but he had some moments, like especially in that control.
In hotel.
I think it was in that control in hotel. Yeah, like where he was making some plays. He was looking pretty good.
Honestly, pretty good for him for his first match in a while.
Yeah, I mean, Scrappy continued his dominance.
Yeah.
Standy played very well. I mean, Kleenex had like a little bit of a stinker with the .81, but overall his damage numbers were pretty solid. And like, once again, like I said, Kleenex's KD is so misleading. If you weren't able to catch a match and just go back and look at the KDs, a lot of times Kleenex does have like a .9 or something, but like you watch the guy and you can see the impact he's having on the map.
Yeah. Also, Standy and Scrappy both dropped to 1.38 basically.
Yeah. Pretty unbelievable stuff for them. I mean, I don't know. In terms of outlooks for these teams, are you kind of in the same boat like London? If a roster change is available, maybe you have to look into it because you're just not going to be able to. I don't know. I kind of like wanted to hold out faith that like these are 4 veteran players that, you know, are smart, can maybe do it off teamwork and become like a middle of the pack team. I don't know. I feel like they might have to look elsewhere. I just don't know if they're going to fork out the money to make that work.
Yeah, they probably won't actually do that, but they're in a tough position right now because, you know, they don't want to spend any money and their team's not very good besides ASIM. So maybe they could trade ASIM?
Try to get cash in return and just throw it in. They might do that this year.
Yeah. Also, I would like to see some little bit better of Nasty overall.
Yeah, like this was a big year for Nasty. Like we kind of gave him a little bit of a pass. He was like average last year, I would say. He had his moments where he was really good, but overall he was like slightly underwhelming from what we thought he was supposed to be, like a top tier. Like people were calling him like a very top contender for rookie of the year last year.
Mm-hmm.
And like he was good. I wouldn't say he was a bad player by any means, but he was okay.
Yeah.
No, I would agree though. I'd like to see more out of him. But in terms of Toronto, I'm very high on this team. They're like forcing me to question. Like before the stage, I said like, yeah, I'm kind of leaning Faze to win this one. I just have a feeling, but Toronto's making me question that. You know, we'll see how the rest of the matches go. But I'm very high on this Toronto team.
Our Toronto boys are going crazy.
A very, very good team. Like I think they have a legit case for best team in the game. Although I mean, New York still hasn't lost, and they won the last major, so it's hard to argue against them. Also,
yeah, top 3 for sure.
Our next match, though, Brock, we got Boston versus Rocker. pretty emphatic 3-0, a pretty dominant 3-0 for Boston here. Like, they took it to Minnesota.
Yeah, to be honest, I did not think this would happen, but it did.
Yeah, it wasn't really all that close of a series. It was pretty dominant.
Yeah, was this before the food poisoning situation with them?
I don't remember. I know they were like saying that the food poisoning thing was happening. I think all their cams were on in this match, so I think it was after. I mean before.
Okay, so yeah, hopefully that wasn't maybe creeping up on them before.
Yeah, but I mean, our boys that are supposed to be like the MVP type candidates on this team in the series after with a .73 and Cammy with a .59.
Yeah, Kimmy's a little bit of stinker this year so far.
Yeah, and really overall last year he wasn't the best either. But like methods, vivid, awakening. I mean, overall, when you have a series like numbers like this on one side, obviously the numbers on the other side are gonna be very good. That's just kind of how it works. But Boston really dominated them. Apparently, like going into this, like people were saying Boston were looking like godlike in scrims, like they were looking like the best team in the game in scrims.
I did hear that. Yeah.
Minnesota obviously maybe still figuring things out. We can talk about it now because it sounds better if I talk about it during this match than during a win that Minnesota had later in the week. But I don't know how much you heard of it. I don't know if you listened to like the Fridays flank, but I had a pretty
I was watching like today, so I think I know what you're talking about.
like yeah, I don't know. I have this opinion with sports too, like in the world we live in now, and like I'm guilty of it, you're guilty of it. I'm sure every single person that watches sports or esports is guilty of it from time to time. You maybe give a take that's probably a hot take, probably a little too hot and like really overreaction. And like I don't know, like I know Hecz is probably doing it for show. Because he's Hecz, he's smart, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Hecz also like it pains me to ever disagree with him because if any of you know Hecz is like probably my favorite pro all time. We have like a joke with me and my buddy that I went to champs with in BO4. We were like at the Whole Foods next to our Airbnb at BO4 champs, and that's where we met Hecz. I talked about in the podcast before, and we always called him Whole Food Hecz after that, Whole Food Patty. Because we met him randomly in Whole Foods, like in the freezer. I was just walking out to grab some stuff for our Airbnb to like have some food to cook there, and then like Hecz just chilling there, and we were just like trying to mind our own business. Because obviously like he's shopping for the event and stuff. He had a match. It was like the Friday night, I think, because they played units on main stage, which was like that rated team. The next day, and like Hecz just out grabbing some food. He was with this guy's named Joe Fries. They used to work for like Envy,
Okay.
or whatever. And like I don't know what I had on. I had like some kind of esports or like COD related merch. Like I think I might have like the Courage 0-15 shirt on or something. And like Hecz noticed it, obviously from that point knew I was probably there for champs since it was so close to the venue, and he approached us, talked to us. And I thought that was really cool. And from that moment, I've always respected Hecz because he's just a cool dude.
Yeah.
Regardless of what some of maybe OpTic fans listening or people listening might hate on him, Hecz is a cool ass dude. So I've always respected Hecz, but man, the hot takes, I don't know. I feel like sometimes like there are people that are just average or need a little more time, and sometimes we're just like, if they don't have instant results, we want to call them awful. Or like we want to call them great if they have one good match. Like they're the best. Like sometimes people are just solid. Like there's sometimes like players, they're not the best, they're not the worst, they're just a good player. And like in this case, what I'm saying is like he basically said, blow it up. Minnesota has to blow it up. And like, well, I agree, Minnesota is certainly not playing to their potential. And I may have just said blow it up for London. I think it's a different circumstance because London, we see the players and we look at that team, and I don't just think there's any way we could ever see that London team being really good.
Yeah, probably not.
But like with this Minnesota team, they've definitely been underperforming. I would say like maybe after Major 2, if they have another terrible placement and don't look like they're improving, maybe you do look at making a roster change. But like when I look at this roster, I see Attach, one of the all-time greats. I see Bance, another one of the all-time greats. I see Cammy, a player that we know has an MVP tick to him. Afro, a player that we know has like top-tier sub talent in him, and like teammates like Cammy and Bance that have worked in the past together, like good team players. And I see a roster on paper that I think could be very good. So it's like, let's give them a little time. Like, don't just give up on them right away because, like, who knows what the alternative is?
Yeah, every team is different in how fast they progress.
I mean, LA, every time they bring it up on the flank, Hecz, it's a terrible comparison. But hey, you know what? LA Thieves is a very talented team. I'm not going to sit here and say that Minnesota is as talented as the world champs from last year, but I'm going to say, like, Minnesota's pretty talented. Like,
Yeah,
they have a chance to become a good team with some time.
Yeah, the players aren't bad, just in a little rut right now.
And Cammy's really underperforming, and specifically in this match. But like, do I think Cammy's going to drop a consistent 0.6? No, I still believe that Cammy could be an MVP caliber player. I don't think Cammy's just going to just constantly be playing this terrible.
Yeah, some plays, get out of his slump. Hopefully next week.
Yeah, that's just overall my take on the whole hot take culture. Though I feel like sometimes we just get too caught up in like this guy played really bad this week, and let's jump on him and get the mob, get the pitchforks out, call for their job, and it's like with some teams, sometimes the talent's there. Let's let them chill. Like this Boston team didn't even play the best in the first major, but like I see the talent there. I'm like, let's chill. Let's see how they develop. Because like once again, like maybe this team is never going to win champs. Maybe they're not going to have a chance to win it. But like you've got to know the alternative is better, has a very good chance to be better to reach for. Because sometimes grass isn't always greener.
Yeah, just like LA Thieves Cold War, they kept switching and switching. Where they get them? Nowhere.
Yeah. It went from top 8 to top 8 to top 8 to top 8 with one random, maybe higher finish in there, but it got them nowhere. Like sometimes, like I said, in the London situation, yeah, you can see why it's gonna maybe say blow it up because they're absolutely dead last, and you really talent wise think they're last.
They're not gonna.
But I think if you
imagine you just pick it up and go win a tournament, I think.
Yeah. But if you told anybody they hadn't watched a single match, but they know the pros pretty well, they saw this Minnesota roster, they'd say that could be a pretty good roster. That London roster, they'd say,
yeah, a little different Minnesota than London.
Yeah. So that's enough on that, but that's one thing I really wanted to mention.
Mm-hmm.
Then our final match of the day on Friday, before we move on to Saturday's stuff, was Vegas versus Surge. Vegas.
Go Vegas.
They take out Surge 3-2. Very good series from Clay. Very good series from Vegas. Are they the best Surge team in the game? TJ was rough, but apparently he's lagging. Apparently, did you hear about apparently he was sad or something, or something had him down bad. I don't know what it was. Hopefully Tej is doing good. I love Tej. We have a funny story about Tej. You want me to tell it?
Yeah, it's too funny.
I don't think I've ever said this one on the podcast because you technically weren't on the pod when this happened. But like obviously Brock and me and one of our other friends went to the Major 2 last year in Minnesota with that LAG one. And it was hosted at a big casino. Great place. I hope they have another event there because that was an awesome time.
It was dope.
But huge casino. Admittedly, though, confusing. Like once you got in, it was a little confusing to find your way back to the hotel. Like to the hotel lobby. And we were down there. Like each night after the event, we'd go down, we'd gamble a little bit, play some blackjack, play some slots and stuff. And we're chilling at the slots. And you're just seeing all the pros walk around everywhere. They're playing, they're gambling every night and stuff. And we see Tej. And Tej walks behind us. And I don't know, he was walking with like Cap or like Capsidal, or like Slasher or something. Somebody, and he's like, I'm gonna go back to the room or something, he says. And then Tej is walking by. Maybe like 2 minutes later, he walks behind us again. And he's like, yo, where am I going? Like just lost. And like if you know like the stigma around Tej and like is how he's like the smartest player in game, but sometimes it's like, yo, Tej, what are you doing? People like to make fun of him. He's like, where am I going? Third time he like comes around, he's like, yo, where the hell? How do I get back? And like he's laughing and he knows we hear him, and we're just like, I don't know. I think it's that way. We're just like laughing with him, and he's like, dude, I can't find my way out of here. And we're just like, I don't know. I just thought it was so funny.
Bro, the way he just looked, he's like, where am I?
Like he was absolutely lost.
Oh, that's too funny.
Like it looked like he might have been lost in there for 3 hours based on how like he was just like, how do I get out of here?
Yeah, really. Casino was definitely confusing. Good on them though. Get you lost, lose your money.
Yeah, they get you lost in there and you can't get out. And you're just like, yeah, I might as well spin another slot.
Yeah, might be for real.
But that was hilarious. That's a funny story about Tej. But hey, they might be the best search and destroy team in the game right now. And TJ might be like maybe the best S&D player in the game. Like this dude's legit in S&D.
Yeah, I think so.
Vegas, man. Also very good in search.
Yeah, Prelude pretty good. They're all pretty good in search overall, individually.
And like, you know, we thought like maybe Pred would be affected by the whole rumors. Pred fried this series, the 1.21.
He did. Pred is still Shaq and Kobe.
Yeah. Accuracy, I mean, in terms of KD wise, actually didn't have a terrible series.
He did not. But yet again, they lost to Las Vegas Legion.
And man, Legion just another game 5. They're maybe the best team in search and destroy right now. Very easy team to trust. And going forward, I'm a little worried about Surge, but this is typical Surge. They go up and down. But I think it could be a little different this time because maybe the whole Pred rumors to OpTic kind of destroyed the team chemistry a little bit. So I'll say going forward, a little bit more worried about Surge for that reason. But also Vegas, like you and I were both like on the Vegas train from the beginning of the year, from the offseason. We thought this team had talent, and they're not even playing from the same facility. The only team that has to go through that right now. Like they're working on trying to get a facility, and I like this Vegas team. They're so good at search and destroy. If they can keep that up and just keep improving their respawn, they're a sneaky team to make some noise.
They get the hardpoint wins up a little more, play better hardpoint. They could go to tournament maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I like this team. When you're a very strong search team, anything can happen. Good things can happen.
Definitely. Feeling like Tej up in here.
Yeah, shout out to Tej. He's playing well. All right, Saturday matches. I want to start maybe flying through these. We're about at like 35 minutes. I want to start maybe getting through these a little faster. Maybe just like briefly talk about the match, talk about how you feel about the team going forward, because we apologize we can't dive deep into every match, but like also don't want to keep you guys here for 2 hours at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Florida LAG though, Vickle with the hair transplant gets the win. I was so confused at first why he didn't have a headset on. Then they said he got a hair transplant where he like couldn't have a headset on it or something.
Yeah,
I'm sure like due to like sensitivity or whatever. But like I thought that was hilarious. The dude's fried and he's screaming at the camera. Shout out to Vickle.
Yeah, shout out. Like, shout out Brack.
Yeah, Havoc Brock.
No,
he played well. Brack did play very well in this series though. That's what I didn't even really look at the series statistics on this one until now, but I remember when I was watching it, I was like, Brack is cooking them. Like I was like, Brack is playing so well. And now I see here, yeah, he had the most damage in the lobby as well as a 1.46. And yeah, shout out to Brack, man. I mean, he got his chance in BO4, fried, and then never got another chance. And he's making the most of it right now. He's certainly making a case for why he should belong in the league.
Yeah, more than just this year.
Yeah, and I was a doubter. I was like, I don't know if he's going to do well, but he's certainly proven me wrong right now. He's playing very well.
Yeah, definitely. I would like to see Major Maniac a little bit better, but they got the dub.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, we'll talk more. Maybe we'll give our thoughts on Florida, and then maybe as we get to the other series with Toronto, kind of brush over that one a little more. But my thoughts on Florida, I feel like my thoughts on them are changing a little bit. I'm kind of turning Florida more into that team that I think is fringe top 8 and is going to just be a scrappy, annoying team.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to be able to stick with you in a lot of series. Kind of feel the same way, or?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, definitely.
I feel like their stock has gone up in my mind, though. I used to just think they sucked going into the year, and like I didn't really change my opinion much on them. But now they can only have so many matches where they are very close. Granted, it's LAG with their new roster, like whatever, but like it's still a CDL team. It's still tough to win.
Still need points. Anyway, get them.
Like, I don't know. It just seems to me like Florida, they're that team in my mind now that has established themselves as like that 8 through 10, 11 team they're just scrappy and they're not going to be an easy out.
Definitely like the Memphis Grizzlies in basketball like 5 years ago.
Yeah. They were always the 6th seed and just never an easy win.
Yep.
All right. Then the Gorillas. I left this series feeling pretty positive. Watching it, I was like, yo, is Arcitys just purposely throwing?
That's what you told me.
Yeah, he was just leaning back in his chair, hood up, and like it literally like looked like he wasn't trying. The casters were even saying, I'm like, is Arcitys trying? Like, what's going on here? And he dropped a 0.79. We know Arcitys is better than that.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, is this dude trying? Apparently he got scanner repair like 800 times and he just had lost complete composure before the matches. Yeah, just absolutely checked. I will say though, coming out of the series, Assault played pretty well, but like I wasn't really keeping my eye on Assault because like we know what he brings to a team. Yeah. We've seen it plenty of times, but I came out of the series despite him dropping a 0.85 for Exceed once again. Kind of why you have to watch matches is rather than just go off stats.
Yep.
And Joe Deceives had a 1.01. I came out feeling like those are 2 players that could be building blocks. I was impressed with both of the subs in Joe Deceives and Exceed.
Yeah, definitely. Joe Deceives. Never heard of this before it comes out. Prize.
Yeah, and he was making plays. He was the thing I liked, the word that Zuma loves, they were both decisive. They were both making plays, hitting cuts fast, and just like they weren't hesitating. They were making plays. Exceed was up in your face, and he may have had a 0.85, but the aggression was there, and I like to see it. And I'm intrigued to keep watching that sub duo because I thought they brought a new pace that the team didn't have before that made them slightly more enjoyable to watch. Okay, Minnesota versus London. Wanted to mention it a little bit. We pretty much talked about both these teams, so we can kind of brush over this series, I feel like, so we can save time to go into predictions. But quick notes on the series, it was the Afro show.
Flu game.
Reverse sweep. 99 and 63 overall in the series of 1.57. Yeah, the whole team had like food poisoning apparently.
Yep.
They fried him in the reverse sweep overall. A tough series for Scraps, tough series for Zero. Asim once again though was like basically the lone bright spot for the squad. Yeah, and in the map 1, they only lost by 6 on the Fortress and didn't even really get fried that much. It was Asim though with a 1.57, 36 and 23. Then they lose the Search and Destroy, where shocker, Asim was almost the lead on the team at 8 and 8.
Mhm.
Afro went Super Saiyan with a 2.0 in the control, and then Afro with a 1.6 in the hard point, and then he dropped a 12 and 4 game in the Search and Destroy. It was the Afro takeover show, and this is what we like to see. Granted, London, one of our bottom teams, so maybe a little bit fluky for Minnesota, but we like to see Minnesota able to clutch up. And like we said, a win's a win, even if it's against a bad team. All these teams are CDL teams, and there's no free wins in the league.
Yeah, win is a win, and they were going through some food poisoning, which I cannot imagine that'd be fun to do.
No, I can't imagine it's a super fun thing to go through. All right. Got Atlanta versus Seattle, a team like Atlanta we can maybe touch on, but this was also just an absolute fry
This
of
was like
a
a
match.
30-minute match, wasn't it?
Yeah, Atlanta just rolled through them. I mean, we were watching at the time, we had the 2 TV set up with our buddy over. We were watching football. We were watching the CDL, watching the NFL playoffs. This series was like, I looked up, watched a quarter of the game, looked back down, and Atlanta was about to win map 3. And it was like, whoa. I didn't even catch half the series, but Slasher, let's just put it like this. The only thing I have to say in the series, Simp was third on his team in KD, and he had a 1.4.
Yeah, it's also scary seeing if you have Cellium going worst KD 0.97 and you're winning like that.
Did Cellium even have to move today? He had 3,600 damage.
He's just relaxing, kicking back up.
Think about that. They played 2 respawns, a control and a hardpoint, and the dude went 32 and 33. That's like what some people would randomly drop on an actual hardpoint. 32 and 33.
He literally wasn't moving, and he didn't have to move. It looked like
he went 4 and 2 in the search with 300 damage. He went
just
9 and 12 in the control with 995 damage. He was asleep at the wheel and they 3-0'd him.
He's working on the snaking spots because they were just running so bad.
Yeah. One thing I will say about Faze, like the one note I have for them, Surge, I'm just like, you got smoked. They might be in shambles because of their whole like team change, and like their chemistry might just be chalked. Like we'll see. But the one thing I'll say about Faze, I like to see Simp dropping a 2.14 in control, because like when Faze is at their best, they're absolutely like over the CDL era, they're absolutely dominant in control. And Simp is like the best control player in the game, and that's when they're at their best. So to see Simp do that and see them 3-0 in control, you love to see it, because like in Cold War when they were dominating, they were just unbeatable on control. And then in Vanguard when they were losing to OpTic, it's because OpTic was unbeatable on control. That is the most underrated thing that nobody talks about, is if you can dominate map 3, there's a very good chance that you're the best team or one of the best teams in the game.
Yeah. And combine that with being a great search team, very scary.
Yeah. So just positives for Atlanta. Seattle might be in shambles with the change. Thieves were subliners. Thieves kind of through the series was the overall consensus in the community. Once again, this was during the NFL playoffs. We were half watching both, so like didn't have like a super deep dive into it, but like watched it enough to know Thieves was kind of throwing some maps. The Heismit, the Hydra and Kismet duo, that's lethal. Skies had a little bit of a rough one, but I don't expect Skies to consistently be dropping 0.8s. But I'd say overall for this, New York, it's a good win. They beat a tough LA Thieves team. No matter what form this Thieves team is in, they're not an easy win. They're the defending world champs for a reason. I'd say for Thieves, like as much as you like don't want to say like it's positive that they choked some maps, like I feel okay. They were in all these maps with subliners, and just a couple mistakes that they'll iron out cost them.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel pretty good about Thieves. Like they played against arguably the best team in the game, very tight, and could have easily won this series. So I'm not too panicked about Thieves at all. Like it's like I said, gonna take a lot for me to panic on Thieves, considering what they did last year. And although like I guess their final match of the weekend might make you panic a little more because they got dominated by LAG, but
if they don't throw some maps, they might be able to win this subliners match. But
yeah.
But
I'm not panicked on either team at all. I mean, New York obviously not. They're one of the best teams, but I'm not panicked on Thieves either.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on to the 3 matches on Sunday. Toronto versus Florida. I don't have much on this match. Toronto. Obviously, Florida made them do that replay. They won it again, and then from there they were talking a bunch of crap. Scrappy had a 1.6 in this series. Breaking Point joking 4-1 them because of the replay. Just to me, another classic case, just like the Toronto versus London was. Mutineers are a team that's going to hang around, but sometimes the top dogs like Toronto are just gonna wreck them, destroy them on the map, and that's what happened here.
Yeah, out talented.
Yeah, that's the story of the series for me.
Yep.
Texas versus Boston. This was an interesting one for me. It was actually a very, very, very close series. Obviously, it ended up being 3-2, and OpTic clutched up, which was good to see because I really thought when this went map 5, Boston was going to win just because of the search and destroy reps.
Yeah,
definitely. Probably didn't have a lot of reps in that.
But it's good to see, OpTic pulling out the clutch.
Yeah. I will say something that is a very positive. Hook played very well in this series. I thought that OpTic's pace was much better. Boston, once again, I feel very confident in Boston. For whatever reason, Boston might be my team this year that I just have blind faith in to always be like solid. We talked about them a little bit. Actually, we didn't talk about them at all. But Boston, I'm not worried about them at all. They lost a tight series to a team that I believe is a potential top 4 team. Obviously, like I said, with Hook, I thought they might hit top 4. Didn't know how fast, but Boston, not concerned with them. I feel like they played a good pace, but I don't know. Is that what you thought about OpTic too? I thought that their pace looked a lot better in this series. Like,
yeah,
really picked it up
overall.
And, yeah, like team. They just looked like they were on the same page.
Yep. Some new vibes.
Yeah, Scump had a 1.22, Illy and Hook both had a 1.14, Shotzi with a 0.98. But I thought like the big thing that seemed great for me was Hook and Shotzi played at a little quicker pace than Shotzi and Scump played together at. Hook was able to speed it up more than Scump, especially this year. And Scump was able to chill back, and it seemed like the map was really opened up for Scump and Illy, who played at a nice pace together as well. And like the pacing just seemed more on point. They seemed to be frying, and I thought, coming out of this, Boston is a very good team. So it's not a bad win for OpTic. Also not a bad loss for Boston. But I felt pretty good about OpTic. I thought the pace looked good, and I feel good about them going forward. And I'm interested to see what they can do coming up here because they play Seattle, who may be in shambles, but that's a tough match. And then they play Toronto. So that's maybe a little bit of a warm-up game with Seattle because they are talented, but in a little bit of shambles. But then they play Toronto. That's a tough match.
Yeah, definitely. Good to see Illy, doing pretty good.
Yeah, maybe reunited with Hook is what he needed.
More comfortable, it seems like.
Yeah, the team just overall seemed more comfortable.
Yeah, the Zio's back.
And probably going to improve in search only from here on out as they get more reps and are able to play together more.
Yeah, I would say so.
And then our final match, Brock, before we jump into our predictions. LAG takes out LAT 3-1. I believe I saw, it seems like this because LAG like dominated them in Cold War, but I believe I saw that LA Thieves has never beaten the Gorillas.
Yeah, they're like 5-0.
So it's not even a rivalry at this point. It's not even the Battle of LA until Thieves can get a match win.
It's really not. That's kind of funny.
Yeah, wow. It's relatively good win here for the Gorillas. Arcitys really stepped up. He wasn't chilling back with his hood up and lost full. Once again, though, Joe Deceives and Exceed, they may have had 0.98 for Deceives and 0.93 for Exceed, but like, once again, you're watching these matches, like that Katie doesn't tell the whole story because these guys, like, they play with an aggression on the map that I really like, and I feel like it opens things up for Arcitys and Assault, which I guess I always say I'd rather have people playing at the same pace.
Yeah.
Even if it's like too slow or too fast than playing at different paces. So I guess if their subs are going to be super aggressive and Arcitys and Assault are just going to be a little slower and lock things down, I feel okay with it. Although Arcitys at times did look pretty good pulling out the sub here and there.
Whatever worked for them, honestly.
But I came out of this thinking like, LAG might be able to make things interesting, and I still don't think they're going to be like a top team, but like I think they're going to be able to make things interesting, competitive because this sub duo they're pretty solid.
Yeah.
And maybe they could overall pretty good.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe they could potentially get another player to fill like the flex position, kind of. Assault's not really a flex.
Yeah.
Or they just stick it out. Go see what they can do on the season, though.
I'm interested, but like I actually like feel like going forward, like this team has a path to be competitive, unlike the old roster did.
Yeah.
Thieves, once again, it's getting harder and harder to say I'm not panicked because they lost to a pretty bad team here, but like still, it's going to take a lot for me to panic on the back-to-back champs from last year and the world champs. But like you gotta, the panic button has to be like you're aware of where it is.
Yeah.
Like before you weren't even thinking about it, but now like you're kind of sitting in the room. I'm looking over at the corner of my room and I'm like, the panic button is sitting somewhere in that corner of the room. I know where it is. Like I'm aware if I need to hit it now, which is like something we didn't think we'd say about LA Thieves this early, but we're aware of it now.
Yeah, we are, but like I just don't think they'll make a change. Like last year, they're playing like even worse for like 3 straight majors.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if they should either, but it's just like at some point you have to start to wonder a little bit because you want to give them, you're going to give them a longer leash than pretty much any team because of their history, but like it has to be on the back of your mind a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
All right, let's jump into predictions now. We're about 50 minutes in, so we've been doing it for a while, been talking for a while, but I want to jump into some predictions. Last week, I had a pretty good week. We do our confidence points where we pick our team, pick the map count. You put either 1 point or 2 points on it. If you put 1 point, you get it right, you get 1 point. If you put 2 points on it, you get it right, you get 2 points. You get the map count right, that's a bonus 1 point. And if you get it wrong, you subtract the amount of points you put on it. So in terms of map picks, I went what is that? 1, 2, 3, 6, 8. I went 8-2 in terms of our map predictions. And I only got 1 map count right. As funny as that sounds, I got 8 matches right, but only one of them had the correct map count. That's kind of odd, I feel like.
Yeah, it's a little odd, but whatever.
But I went 8-2 overall in matches, and honestly, like the one that I got wrong in the first day was the Minnesota Boston. I'm pretty sure I literally said in the pod that I was like, man, I'm leaning Boston, but for some reason I want to go with Minnesota to be different than you. And I took Minnesota. The last one I wasn't getting right. There was no way I was picking LAG over the Thieves.
Yeah, maybe I should have picked LAG if I'm looking at their stat against them.
And then we also have our one match where we can put 4 points on for extra confidence points. And if we get it wrong, we lose 4 points, which you did. You picked LAG over Florida. And I got mine right, picking Toronto over Florida.
Unlucky.
So I finished the week with we did much better than a major one. We changed our scoring system up than we did, but we did pretty poor. Our week 1 in major one, I got -9, and you had -3. This week I had 12, and you had 3. So improvements from both of us. We improved.
We're in the positives.
Yeah. So we're gonna do that same thing. We're picking map counts, putting either 1 or 2 points. You have the first choice of your 4-point prediction for this week since you lost the first week. So like, let's say for this NYSL versus Florida match, I want to put my 4 points on NYSL, but you're planning to do it on that or any of their matches. You can veto me from it and then say it. So you can veto me for my first 4-pointer if you're gonna bet on that team. But we can't bet on the same team, even if it's a different match. If you pick NYSL, I cannot pick them for the week. So let's dive into our predictions. First match on Friday, New York versus Florida. Who you got, Brock?
3-1 Florida. Not Florida. NYSL.
I was about to say, whoa.
Yeah,
how much you putting on it?
I put in 3.
Whoa. Only 1, 2, or 4. We changed up the score.
Well, I'm trolling right now. I'm putting 2.
Okay. I was about to say, you're worrying me that you're going to put 4 because I'm thinking about putting my 4 on this one. But I'm trying to look at the rest of the matches to make sure there isn't one that I missed. And I wanted to put something on. I'm eyeing up maybe that LAT versus London one, but who knows?
It might be.
I'm eyeing up. Obviously, like if I see one later and I want to put something on it, but you decide that you're going to put something on it, I can go back and change one of mine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to save mine for now because I see a match I'd rather put it on, but I think you might also take that match. So I might come back and put 4 on this one, but you're putting, what'd you say for your map count?
3-1.
Okay, I'm going to go 3-0 New York. I'm going to put 2 on it.
All right.
I feel like kind of like the thing we said with the Toronto Florida series from last week. I mean, you go on the same page with that. New York, one of our top 3 teams. Florida, probably one of our bottom 3 teams. I think they can make it scrappy. So I don't mind your 3-1 pick. I think that Florida could make it scrappy, but like, I don't know, 3-0s happen, and if there was going to be a series, it seems like one top team versus one of the more bottom teams.
Yeah, but never know. Neither could overestimate Florida and lose.
100%. I don't think this is a lock at all. Florida could definitely make things interesting, and I feel like in Search and Destroy specifically, they could make things interesting. You never know. This could easily be pushed 5 games, and we all know when it gets to a game 5, anything can happen.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, Seattle versus Texas. OpTic versus Seattle, maybe a couple weeks ago, this would have been a little bit better match. Maybe there's a little bit extra fire on the line for OpTic because of what Seattle did to them with Pred.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, I don't know. I just don't know what to pick here.
I feel pretty confident in my pick, actually. I'm going to put 2 points on this one as well, and I'm going to go OpTic 3-1. I feel like Seattle are just in shambles right now. They did not look good in either of their matches this week. I feel like it's maybe a chemistry issue with the whole Pred situation, maybe them being upset. And I just overall think that like OpTic looked good. I think they're going to be more practice, and Surge looked very poor last week. So if we're going based on recent performance, OpTic looked pretty good and Surge looked pretty terrible. So that's basically my very simple logic behind it.
You said 2 points, right?
Yeah, putting 2 on that one.
3-0, OpTic. Run it 30
you,
minutes.
You're kind of on the same boat. A team trending up and a team trending down. It's hard to bet on the team trending down.
Yeah, Hecz is subbing in.
Hecz is subbing in.
Let him know.
Hecz is going to sub in. The owner or GM, whoever he was talking to in Seattle, are going to sub in, and they're going to go to war in a 1v1.
Won't that be something?
Yeah, I mean, this like seems like too easy of a pick, so we'll probably end up getting it wrong, and Surge will 3-0 smoke him.
That's how this works usually.
But like, it just seems like it's like the classic thing. When I'm making a pick, I see OpTic as a team trending upward, Surge trending downward. It's pretty hard to say like, one team is getting worse, one team's getting better. Let's pick the team that's getting worse. Like that's a hard pick to make.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
All right, are we gonna agree overall on the day? This is a good day of matches. This first day.
We might
NY
disagree
a
here.
scrappy Florida team, and then Seattle versus OpTic. That's a good match. This last match is very good too. Toronto and LAT. Although LAT hasn't been great lately, like I still feel like this is a matchup of two good teams in Thieves and Toronto.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick LAT 3-2.
Okay, so you're gonna go. We are gonna split because I'm definitely taking Toronto. I talked earlier. You're putting 1 point.
Yeah.
I mean, I talked about earlier how much faith I have in Toronto. I feel like Scrappy's going to get up for this game because it's a bigger fan base team. He's going to be ready to, talk his stuff. I don't want to put 2 points on every match in the day, so I'm only going to go 1 on this one. I'm going to say it's a 3-1 Toronto. Just feel like Toronto's a much better team right now. I think Scrappy is so far the MVP of this stage through the first 2 qualifiers, and
I definitely agree.
I think Toronto's also ascending to potentially the best team in the game right now, like making their claim for it. And I think Thieves are in a little bit of a spiral. So once again, kind of like this last series where Texas is ascending right now and Seattle is maybe falling. It's hard to pick the team like LAT that's falling from me right now. So 3-1 Toronto, though 1 pointer on it.
Yep. I'm going with the upset.
Okay, Boston versus Vegas, Brock.
Oh my god.
Go with Vegas again. We know you're a Vegas guy.
I have to. I'm going with Tej. 3-2.
This is I'm excited for this one. This might be of the 4 matches we talked about. Actually, this one might be the one I'm most excited for. It's a good matchup again.
It is. Honestly, it is a good ass matchup. I'll put 2 points as well.
You went Vegas 3-2. I think I'm gonna flip it on you.
I think
I'm gonna go Boston, but I'm gonna go 3-1. Simply because I feel like if this goes to a game 5, I would lean Vegas. Because they are the better search team. And I do think, if this goes game 5, I think you're right. I think Vegas takes it, but I think maybe Boston's able to take it in 3 respawns because they are probably the better respawn team. I'm only going to put 1 point on this because for whatever reason, as odd as this sounds, I do have confidence in the Legion to make this close and potentially win it. As weird as that sounds, I'm not used to saying that, but going Boston 3-1 just for the respawn diff. But I will say I'm admittedly nervous. If it goes to a game 5, I wouldn't feel very confident picking Boston.
Yeah. That'll be a good matchup to watch, honestly.
I'm excited for that one because, like, once again, it's a matchup of those teams that, like, in my mind, Boston and Vegas are pretty close to the same level. They're both like in that middle, trying to figure out if they go towards the upper middle or bottom middle. So that'll be nice to see that matchup.
Yes.
LAT versus London. Maybe a better matchup than we would think going into the week because they're both kind of on a downfall right now.
I know. Yeah, honestly, I'm gonna pick LAT again.
Yeah,
LAT
I was
fan right now. 3-1, and I'm putting 4 points on it.
This is your 4-pointer. Okay, you saved me from my 4-pointer then.
Yep, I'm doing it.
I was not gonna do that, but I'm gonna pick LAT. I'm gonna say this one goes to a map 5. I think it's really tight. It's maybe a turning point for Thieves to kind of figure things out.
Oh,
I'm gonna
I
put
could,
1 point on it only with a 3-2, but I think
I
I
could
don't
see
know.
it.
I just the reason I go 1 point on here too is because I just don't have confidence in either of these teams right now. I think Thieves are gonna figure it out, but like right now, I just don't have much confidence in them.
Yeah, right now, just like I don't know.
Like they could be in their, I mean, they're 0-2 right now. They could be in their 0-5 stage like they had last year. They could be on that. You never
hmm
know. But
Yeah,
I'm going 3-2 for them. 1 point on it, but oof. It's not a series I feel confident in. Honestly, like that's our 5th match of the weekend. It's probably the one I'm least intrigued to watch, for being honest.
yeah,
Really, like the rest of the weekend, I'm pretty interested in every match. That match is just, whew, that's like the snoozer of the weekend for me.
yeah. That's like I'll go do something for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe an hour.
All right. OpTic versus Toronto, not a snoozer. This will be an interesting one because obviously Toronto the better team right now, but it'll be a good, especially if OpTic's able to beat Seattle, and even if it's in like a pretty good fashion, like this will be a good measuring stick for where OpTic is at, because Toronto is arguably best team or top 3 team in the game right now.
Yeah, this would be a good one. Oh man,
I can go
you,
first in this one if you want me to.
you can go first.
I'm gonna pick Toronto in this one. I'm gonna say they win it. I picked a decent amount of 3-1, so I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna only put 1 point in this one again, just because it's a little shaky for me. But I'm gonna put 1 point on Toronto and a 3-1. I like OpTic. I think they're gonna keep improving with this roster, but to me, I feel like they beat Boston, who's a good team, in a 3-2. Then I think they play Seattle early in the weekend. I think they beat them, like I said, 3-1, maybe 3-2, who's another decent team talent wise, but is maybe in shambles. But then they hit Toronto, and Toronto's a different beast. Like I said, they're one of the top teams. I think maybe OpTic doesn't have enough time together as a team and is maybe not ready quite yet to beat a team like Toronto. So I think 3-1's fair, but I'm excited to see this one because if OpTic does beat them, then who knows? The hype train behind OpTic could be pretty unreal.
Yeah, I am also going with Toronto. That's what I was thinking before. But I'm gonna go
Yeah.
3-2 fashion.
Okay.
Game 5 winner.
I do feel like once again though, if this goes game 5, you probably do favor Toronto regardless, just because of the time together and reps in search of destroy.
And who knows? Fucking OpTic could just 3-0 them.
Yeah, I mean this is an entertaining series. I'll be excited as long as OpTic hangs around and plays very well and keeps the respawns close with their limited practice and like their less time as a team together. I feel like you should, as an OpTic fan, leave that series feeling pretty decent about it if they're very competitive overall. Because Toronto is a very good team.
Pretty good about the team going forward.
Yeah. Okay, last match: Atlanta versus Minnesota, which has led to some bangers. Um, in the CDL era, they played some crazy matches in Cold War. In MW, they had like maybe one of the craziest finals that on that, what was it? What's that map called? Hackney, where Minnesota broke that hill last second, like the most insane break. These teams have had some crazy matches. However, this is my 4 point match. Atlanta 3-0.
Ooh.
Minnesota right now, like I said, they're a team I want to see them stick together because I think they have the potential to do something. But man, it's just Atlanta, I think, is hitting a roll. I already said I believe that they're probably going to be the team that wins this major. Going into the stage before we saw any matches, they were my favorite. And Minnesota right now is not playing well. Atlanta is, even if they don't win 3-0, I feel pretty confident that they're going to win this one. So that's why I want the 4 points in this one.
When you're arguably your best player, Cellium does nothing for whole series, it's kind of worrying for the other teams.
Yeah, considering maybe the best player in the world didn't have to do a thing and they still dominantly 3-0'd.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
I
definitely a
am.
concern.
I'm also gonna go Atlanta. The 3-1, 3-1.
Giving them the search or what?
Yes, attach will give you one. Doesn't matter how. I'm putting 1 point only.
Yeah,
Well, actually, I'm putting 2 points.
you're going to put 2 points on it. Okay. I was hoping you were only going to put one because I feel like it's a pretty.
I was thinking about something else, and then yeah, I was trolling for a second.
Yeah, I mean, that's. Yeah, I definitely would think that that's fair because man, Atlanta's got to be like the team that you feel most confident in almost every match because like there are some, even like the best teams. Like, I guess I don't think like Toronto or New York, but like even a team like OpTic, like I picked them against Seattle, and we view them as one of the better teams. But like I could easily see OpTic coming out and kind of throwing up a bad series on the board. But like I can't picture a world where FaZe comes out and gets dominated. They could lose in any series, but it's just hard to pick a world or predict a world where FaZe gets dominated. Like I can't even imagine it.
Like honestly, I can't remember a time they got 3-0, like 3-0 really.
I think it just happened for the first time last year in the CDL era, but I don't remember who it was to. But I feel like I remember it happening, and then people said like, "Oh, it was the first time they've been 3-0'd," and maybe it might have been Thieves, like late in the year.
That would make sense, honestly.
That could be a complete lie. I could be completely lying, but I remember them getting 3-0'd, and people said it was like the first time they had been 3-0'd in like the CDL era, and it was like, wow, we're 3 years into the CDL era.
That's crazy though.
Yeah. All right, moving on to Sunday. We're pretty in sync overall in our picks, to be honest. It might come down to like map counts and confidence points we put on matches, because like our only differences are the LAT Toronto match in the first day and then the Boston Vegas match in the second day. We only have 2 different predictions so far, but we've got Las Vegas versus London. I'm assuming we're probably going to be on the same page with this one as well.
Oh, Las Vegas.
That's what you're picking?
3-0.
I like it. I am gonna
2 points. We're going crazy.
2 points.
Yep.
I am gonna go. I was maybe gonna say 3-0, but I'll say 3-1 to get a little different than you. I'm also gonna put 2 points on it on the side of Vegas. I just like Vegas right now. Like we said, we're not huge believers in London, and I am. I'd be buying a lot of stock in Vegas right now because I think stock is still pretty low. And I think that they're a very good team. I think we're going to see them consistently fighting for top 6s and maybe a little better once or twice. So I like Vegas in a 3-1 here. I think London might be good enough to take a respawn off them.
Yeah, it's definitely fair. Just big Vegas fans these days.
And Vegas just has that tool in their back pocket. Like, just get us to a map 5 and we're the favorite. Get us to a map 5. Like, they just have to do that. And if they win earlier, that's just a bonus.
Definitely. SNG wins championships.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not wrong. Speaking of S&D teams, Minnesota should be a really good S&D team. Always have been. Got LAG versus Minnesota. Are you going to go with your LAG boys?
No. And then they'll probably win this one.
You're not going to go with them?
It'll be close. Minnesota 3-2.
Damn, I was going to go with the exact same thing. How many points do you put on it?
I'm just put 1.
Yeah, I'm actually doing the exact same thing as you.
That's fair.
I'm doing Minnesota 3-2 with 1 point because this series is like, Minnesota just should be able to win this because I just feel like their team is so much better, but they just haven't played like it. And like, honestly, I thought almost based on their last series, I thought LAG might have almost played a little better than Minnesota did last week. So like, it seems like it should be such an easy prediction, but I'm only putting 1 point and doing 3-2 as well because like, this is just like flip a coin and I'd be okay with the outcome either way with who I'm picking.
Yeah, it's like Minnesota, you pick them high, they'll disappoint you sometimes.
And LAG, it's like I want to have faith in them because like they just had that good series, but also was that a fluke? Could they lay a dud next time? They certainly could.
Definitely.
Then we finish it out, Brock, with a final match of the week. NYSL versus Atlanta, probably the match of the week. A very, very, very good matchup here. Potentially our top 2 teams. You know, you can make an argument for it.
Yeah.
Where are you going here? I know who I'm picking. Your pick is. I was gonna say your pick's not gonna affect me.
ATL 3-1. 1 point.
Man, that's the exact series score I was gonna pick. We're pretty in sync on the last day. I'll just say screw it. We'll put 2 points on it, but I'll say 3-1 Atlanta. 2 points. I feel like we haven't seen a lot of New York, so we only got to see the one match last week, but they looked very good. Definitely believe New York could win this series, but I don't know. I just think there's something about Atlanta always. There's just always something about Atlanta. Like they're just so hard to pick against.
Yeah, like you said last week, you know, if you want to get it right, you just bet on Atlanta.
Yeah, like I mean, if you pick Atlanta, they win like 80% of their matches every year in the qualifiers. Like if you pick Atlanta every time, it's going to be a net positive.
Yeah.
They're never going to have a stage probably where they go under 500. If there's 5 qualifier matches, they're probably going at least 3-2.
Yeah,
in those matches. Like it's just what they do. So I'm picking Atlanta also 3-1 fashion, but 2 points on it.
All right. Overall,
That-
pretty similar.
Yeah, well, I mean, what on
But
Sunday we have the same teams, and then we only have one different team on Friday, one on Saturday. But obviously, map counts, if one of us is able to get map counts, and then our confidence points that we put on it as well, we'll shift things. Like,
yeah,
if you end up getting that LAT versus London match round with your 4 points, or I end up getting my Atlanta match round with 4 points, that'll be a big swing.
yeah.
All right, that's it for predictions. That's pretty much it. We can wrap it up. We've been going for about hour 10, hour 15 minutes, a little bit longer of an episode today, but like as we get into predictions and like more deep dives, especially following tournaments and stuff, it's pretty typical for episodes to get over an hour. I mean, there are multiple times where Kyle and I, we almost went for nearly 2 hours. Like sometimes it can get really long when we start to really deep dive matches, but we want to talk a little bit more news, so we didn't want to keep you guys too long in deep dive. But you got anything else, Brock, before we wrap it up here?
Not really. Just feeling like Tej.
Yeah, feeling like Thieves. Maybe the best search and destroy player of the game right now.
Honestly, might be.
He's up there.
Definitely.
All right. That's going to do it for this one. If you guys enjoyed, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. Like I said, if you're listening, you got to this point and you're not subscribed, we'd greatly appreciate the support if you dropped a sub. Still, it's like 66 to 70% of the people that listen and watch on YouTube are not subbed. So drop a sub if you aren't already. We're 2 away at the time of recording this from the 900. That'd be a big milestone to hit. And then obviously the big emotional 1,000 will be the next one. But we got to get to 900 first. We still have to get there. So we'd appreciate you guys to drop a sub, drop a like. Comment down below your thoughts on the whole Dashy versus Rambo situation. I'm sure there are a lot of people that have a lot of thoughts on that situation. Comment down below some predictions for the matches. We want to hear them. If you guys are on the audio platforms, drop a 5-star review on there. We thank you guys so much for watching. The continued support is pretty unreal. It's like every time I see the continued support, I'm just thankful for it because it's interesting journey from MW to now, and to see we're approaching 900 subs is pretty wild. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Hope you guys enjoy watching the matches this weekend. I'm looking forward to them, and I'm looking forward to talking about them next week. So thank you guys so much for watching again, and we will see you next week.